Hello, welcome to Confessions of a Frustrated Game Master. I am Robert, the narrator, and thank you for joining me for another episode of Confessions. This episode I want to talk about the playtest that I did last night of the role playing game that I've been working on for quite a while. I was able to put a fantastic group of guys together who agreed to do a one shot playtest of my game, and it was my dream group. Ivan from Ivan Mike 1968 joined me last night to play test. Also, Jason from Dark Age of Roleplay joined me, and also a coworker, Nate, who was playing a tabletop RPG for the first time, agreed to join me and play online on Roll20 to test my game. We had a bunch of technical issues on Roll20 with audio and a little bit of a video problem as well. So it kind of detracted from the experience a little bit. Ivan in particular was having an issue with his audio. But overall, despite that issue, I think I know I really enjoyed the session. And it really energized me because I have never sat at a table and role played with Ivan or Jason, and of course, never with Nate because it was his first time. And I just got so much energy from these guys, man. You can't believe it. I haven't role played in at least 6 months, I'll say. And it was fantastic to sit down and play with guys who have fantastic energy, fantastic attitudes, who really threw themselves into the game and into their characters. They have been playing longer than I have because I believe Jason and Ivan started in the early days of Dungeons and Dragons. Well, definitely, I don't know the exact period, but definitely before I started role playing. And they are not jaded. They still love the hobby. They still have a fantastic attitude, and they still clearly enjoy everything about role playing. Now, they're not frustrated at all, like I could be sometimes when I role play, and just getting that energy from them was fantastic. And I didn't know if they would like my system. I feel that my system is squarely rules medium. I believe it's right there, smack dab in the center of rules medium. And I believe Ivan and Jason tend to lean towards rules light. They said they enjoyed themselves, and both of them said that they would like to do another session, and that's fantastic. But they seem to enjoy the game. They said they enjoyed the game. We haven't talked about details as to where they think the game falls as far as rules light, rules medium, rules heavy, but they want to give it another try. And man, the energy from those guys, I just can't say it enough how fantastic it was and how great it was to sit down with experienced role players. Not that, it wasn't fantastic to sit down with Nate. Nate was fantastic. He threw himself into the game. He had a fairly important role in the adventure, and he had a lot of fun. But sitting down with some experienced guys, especially guys who may like a different level of rules complexity than my game necessarily falls in, was great because hopefully at some point we'll get to sit down and talk and see where they think it falls on the spectrum, and also, get their opinion. So the fact that they are experienced players and the fact that they may fall slightly outside of the type of folks who my game would hit their sweet spot is really important. And it was just great that they joined me. And some of their descriptions of things that happened in the game as they were playing the game was incredible. Ivan was playing a half giant is the best description that I have. And they were fighting some orcs and goblins, and a orc on horseback charged at Ivan's character, waved its mace above its head, and tried to strike Ivan's half-giant character. The orc missed, and I asked Ivan, so describe why the orc missed. And Ivan said, I take my hand, and as he's striking down at me, I grab the head of the mace and just stop it in midair. And that was awesome. And the next turn that Ivan had, he attacked the orc and damaged the orc. And I said, so describe the attack. And he's like, well, I'm still holding the head of his mace, and I just smash it into the orc's head. And he took the orc out. That was amazing. Great description, very narrative. I like the fact that he was able to use the attack system in my game and make it his own and become really and be really cinematic and narrative with it. I guess that's from the perspective of a rules light guy, that's fantastic, and I loved it, and I hope he liked it. He seemed to have a good time with it. And Jason was surrounded by a bunch of goblins on their raptor mounts. And one of the goblins attacked him. He blocked the attack, spun around, took the goblin out, and said, you know what? I just want to jump onto the raptor and kick the goblin that I just took out off of the raptor. And so he took the goblin out with his scimitar, jumped up, kicked the goblin off of its mount, landed on the back of the mount, and took off to engage another orc. So it was fantastic. And I really loved it, man. I just can't describe how jazzed I am about the energy that these guys have. You know, being in the hobby so long, sometimes you come across situations where you're not really gelling with folks and things don't quite go as you planned and you get a little bit jaded. But these guys, man, they were into it. They were on their game, and it just gives me so much energy, and I'm pretty sure they energized Nate. Nate did a fantastic job. He was nervous because it's his first time, obviously, but he was on it, man. He has played video games before, so he, understands the idea of going into having a heroic character, going into a battle and facing down enemies. And he was using his magical bow and magical sword to duck and dodge from the goblins and take shots at the orcs. And he was switching between bow and sword quickly because they are magical items that he's familiar with, and he can easily put them away. And man, it was just so much fun. I can't say enough. Hopefully we can get together and do another session, maybe finish up the adventure. We got pretty much halfway or 60% through the adventure that I was running for them. And I just have to say I'm really happy with it. Technical issues aside, those guys made that session. They made that game, and I'd love to talk to them sometime and get more feedback from them and see what they think about it and any suggestions that they have. So I'm really happy. I'm on cloud 20 because from the session, and yeah, it went really well, I believe. So yeah, that's all I wanted to share. I'm going to be doing other playtest sessions. If I could get a steady playtest group together of 3 or 4 folks, that would be amazing. Maybe play for 6 to 8 weeks straight. that would be awesome. But man, the fun that I had with this session is like playing for 6 to 8 weeks because it was so much fun and the guys really made the game. It was only the first time, of course, and those guys were being so gracious. They're really busy. They play other games. They have their YouTube channels. It is RPG a day month, which I'm not doing any videos for that, unfortunately, because I'm a little bit too busy with the things that I'm doing, but they're definitely taking part in that. So those guys are really busy, and they didn't have to do it, give me a Saturday night. And I really want to thank those guys. They are fantastic. Check out their channels, Ivan Mike 1968 on YouTube and Dark Age of Role Play with Jason Mann. Check those guys out. They do a fantastic job. And, hey, strange bedfellows, man. I'm a rules medium kind of guy. They are rules light kind of guys. And I think we hit it off. It was really, really positive, and I really appreciate what those guys did. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you very much for checking out this episode of Confessions of a Frustrated Game Master. If you are maybe at all interested in checking the game out at some point, please hit me up at robertthenarrator@gmail.com. That's my email address. Robert the NARRAIDER narrator@gmail.com. And I'll put you on the list, and maybe you can do a playtest session for me as well. Well, thanks for checking this out, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Thanks a lot.